This is the Masco MA-17 monoblock amp. It's a 6L6 push-pull output. The power switch is wired kind of upside down. We push down on it to power it up. And we have our pilot light here. And we need to let it warm up a little bit. There's a little bit of hum, which is kind of normal with tube amps. And put a little music through it. This is the phonograph input I'm using with my cassette deck. It also has a microphone input on the back, which is a little noisy. Of course, it's not terminated. There's nothing hooked up to it. And there's also a tone control. A little bit of noise in this, too. But the phono input is pretty good. It's Okay, here's the underside of the amp with the bottom cover removed. And we can see the solar seal-tight signal capacitors. And the large yellow capacitors are filter capacitors for the power supply. And the next picture I'd like to show you is a licensing notice from AT&T, Western Electric, using circuit design, obviously must be patented, in this amplifier. Now we take a look at the back of the unit. We have on the going from left to right, we have obviously the power cord input, and below that the fuse. Those two round connectors are for speakers. You can hook up speakers to that through, it's a 6-pin connector, and it's not stereo, it's just two mono taps. And the next connector is the terminal strip for the different taps off of the audio transformer. Going from left to right, we have the 2 ohm tap, then the 4 ohm, 8 ohm, then the 15 ohm, and finally the 500 ohm. I would imagine the 500 ohm would be used for like headphones or some other high impedance speaker perhaps. And we also have a description tag with the model number, and then the phono input, which is a 2-screw terminal strip, and then lastly is the microphone input. Here's a close-up of the tag, the Masco systems, shows the model number, the voltage, serial number, and code. And there's also at the bottom another notice of the license from AT&T. Now here's the overhead view of the amp. And going from left to right, we have the 7C7 tube, which is a pentode, which is used for the amplification of the phono input and the microphone input. The next tube is a 7F7, which is a dual triode tube, and this is used as the driver to drive the 6L6 push-pull output tubes, which are next to it. And finally, on the far right, we have the 5Y3 rectifier tube. Now this is a dual diode tube, and it allows full wave rectification, so it gives you a little bit more higher efficiency. The transformer on the far right, that's the power transformer. The transformer in the center there, that is the audio transformer. And there's also a small transformer underneath, which I'm not quite sure what that's used for. And finally, here's the front of the unit. As you can see, I've replaced the old power cord with a 3-prong grounded cord, and the ground goes to the chassis. And what's interesting, the signal ground for the input for the phono and the microphone also use the chassis as for their signal path. Both inputs here, the microphone input and the phono input, can be used simultaneously. So you could actually use this as like a small mixer, mixing two inputs in, a microphone and maybe also either a phonograph, old school phonograph, or some other